네, 삼프로TV 주말 인터뷰 오늘도 아주 핫하고 중요한 내용을 저희가 가지고 왔습니다. 굉장히 중요하고 모시기 힘든 분이 해외에서 이제 건너오셨는데요. 오늘 할 이야기는 이제 금융시장 전반적인 이제 정책과 그리고 구조적인 변화에 대해서 어떤 방향으로 가고 있는지 이야기를 좀 나눠보려고 합니다. 특히 지금 미국에서 이제 지니어스 법안이랑 클래리티 법안이 통과되면 앞으로 어떤 방향으로 이 디테일을 가져갈 것이냐에 대한 많은 의견들이 오고 가고 있는데요. 많은 분석가들이 이게 그냥 암호화폐에 대한 이야기가 아니라 앞으로 이제 금융시장의 전반적인 구조적인 대변화가 일어날 것이라고 많이들도 예측을 하고 있습니다. 그래서 오늘 자주 안 오시는 분입니다. 여러분이 꼭 오늘 다 들어주셨으면 좋겠는데요. 메타의 리브라 프로젝트 핵심 엔지니어이자 그리고 현재 앱토스의 공동 창업자 겸 CEO 우리 에이버리 칭 박사님을 모셨습니다. 어서 오세요. Welcome to 삼프로TV. How's your time in Korea so far?
Oh, it's been wonderful here with my family for the last 2 weeks, and we've had a lot of great meetings, and also enjoying the wonderful food out here as well.
Is there any favorite Korean food? Like, I mean, in Korea locally?
Yes, the Korean food locally. We've tried everything. I think at this point, we've had the seafood out in Busan. We've also had a lot of Korean barbecue, pork, beef, all kinds of things. We're Gwanjong Market. A lot of great things out there to eat, of course.
Well, Jensen Huang came to Korea and had a big picture like in a chicken place, right?
Yes.
K Chicken.
Yeah. I think we were just there last night enjoying chicken. Actually sat in his spot alongside where he met, of course, the Samsung and other companies.
Okay.
Really amazing place.
So, like to our viewers, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Avery Ching, co-founder and CEO at Aptos Labs. I worked at Meta for a decade prior to co-founding the team, and during that time, I spent working on data analytics, but also was the lead for the Libra project on the blockchain technology side. We designed and developed a technology and product platform that could support the needs of MasterCard, Visa, Uber, Lyft, Facebook, Instagram, PayPal, etc. That could support 24/7 payments around the world with global settlement, and designed for billion scale, institutional grade, enterprise grade technology. For that, we had to build out a very new infrastructure such as the Move language, as well as the next generation consensus protocols, as well as execution environments.
I heard that when you co-founded Aptos, you raised over $100 million. How did that work?
Well, we had already known many of the investors actually from our time at Libra and DM. And among them were Andreessen, A16Z. They led our round in our seed round back in 2022, and then we raised $200 million from that round. And then in following that, in July, we worked with Jump Crypto to raise a Series A at another $200 million. But we are very, very blessed to have great investors. Also, many of them here in Korea, such as Hashed and YG and Hype and Iron Gray.
Today we're going to talk about some legislation part, policy part, and in your career path, like on top of that, you advise CFTC and has testified before the U.S. Congress. What's this about?
We felt like it's very important, not just from a technology perspective to contribute to the industry, but also from a regulatory perspective. We were very fortunate to participate in a testimony in support of the Clarity Act last year in front of the House Agricultural Committee, where we went several hours of discussion with the congressional members about the benefits of Clarity, specifically towards builders and projects like ourselves, and how it would unlock a new wave of innovation going forward into America as well as the rest of the world. We also were invited to join I was invited to join the CFTC's Digital Assets Subcommittee, GMAC, and we've had great discussions alongside many of our industry counterparts about how to take crypto forward into the future.
Are these bills passing in an expected pace, or is it holding back?
I think this is the most substantial legislation in the last 10 to 15 years since Dodd-Frank. And of course, it's going to take a lot of time. There's a lot of things in this bill, and that's what makes it very complex, makes it a little bit harder to pass as a combined large effort. But the pieces, as they move forward, are going to unlock tremendous amounts of value across the industry. For builders like ourselves, having clarity around the way market structure works and how tokenization will happen is very, very important because it defines and provides a framework in which enterprises can safely and compliantly onboard into crypto rails. And that's, I think, one of the biggest benefits for us. There's obviously other areas around defining yield for stablecoins, defining taxonomy around digital assets versus securities, and also who's responsible versus the CFTC or SEC around different kinds of classifications. So all these pieces put together are going to be a massive win, I think, not just for the US, but also the world.
So let's get to the point step by step. So many of our viewers, especially like Korean viewers, some of them, they have no idea what Clarity Act and Genius Act, and can you explain them in details?
Sure. So if you think, prior to this administration, crypto was an area that was in many ways shunned by the government and even demonized in many different ways as well. It was very hard for many of these projects to build alongside some of the largest companies in the world, and that was challenging, especially when you consider that during that time, many of them had to go offshore to kind of compete. Now fast forward, we have an administration which has been very supportive of crypto policy. And because of that, we've been able to advance forward with the Stable Act, with Genius Act, and now Clarity Act coming forward. And that's given institutions a lot of excitement around how crypto rails, as well as crypto assets, can be a very viable part of today's society going forward. We can see the number of IPOs that have happened in crypto market has also been very large in the last couple of years, such as Circle, Galaxy, and many others. And we expect that trend to continue going forward. But additionally, beyond that, we want to see the adoption piece. And that piece is what I think is driving the most excitement around Clarity, which will unlock a tremendous amount of usage of crypto as infrastructure rails for everyday transactions, payments, financial markets, as well as trading of assets and portfolio management.
Why is the Clarity Act so important for the digital asset industry?
Having the Clarity Act define the taxonomy of assets and also how different kinds of industries and companies can interact alongside these new kind of technologies has been something that has been holding back innovation for a long period of time. But as we talk to many of our partners and our investors, such as BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Apollo, who have been very early to the game of tokenization, they want to do a lot more in a post-Clarity world where the rules are clearly defined, where they're not having to worry about the compliance because the rules are not there yet. Clarity will make all this much simpler for people to onboard from a institutional perspective, but also for consumers to get more access to the technology of the future.
If the bill passes, what changes would you expect in the market?
I think post the bill, 12 months out, we should expect to see a tremendous amount of assets tokenizing from the largest asset managers in the world. We're already in many discussions with some of those parties, and they are waiting for that bill to pass, but they're not waiting too long. They have dedicated a tremendous amount of resources when it comes to their teams, their time, their management at the C-level and beyond to put a lot of thought and effort into a post-Clarity world where it's very clear that the future of finance is going to happen on-chain.
To clarify, can you give us some examples of tokenization and those digital assets and stuff?
Absolutely. Today, Aptos has already had many funds tokenized on top of it. BlackRock has tokenized their Biddle fund. Frank Templeton has tokenized Benji as well, and Apollo's their Acrid fund on top of Aptos. Today, the tokenized market is still relatively small, but by 2030, we expect to see trillions. So more than probably 100x of where we are today in terms of tokenized assets in just the next 5 years.
What's tokenization exactly?
Tokenization is taking a kind of concept that's already existed in the more like fiat world. If you think back more about how electronic markets were before, paper markets, people used to trade securities with pieces of paper, and then electronic markets modernized that to be able to support the movement of assets, digital assets, over the internet. And this now new next wave is going to be to take these assets and have them accessible globally and not just within a specific exchange. And that is going to change the way that access is given to assets, as well as globalizing assets across a large number of people that didn't have access to them in the past. And so this kind of shift is going to be tremendous when it comes to global markets and interoperability.
What's exactly better from the conventional market? Like, is it safer or is it faster or any other thing?
So a lot of people don't realize that the existing systems on how we kind of manage financial instruments is actually very, very challenging. But if you ever try to take your stocks from one brokerage and transfer them to another, it's a very manual process. You fill out a form. Someone on the other side takes that form, enters it into a database. And there are a lot of errors made along the way, unfortunately. And I've experienced this actually fairly recently myself, unfortunately. And this is just kind of one example of where the existing markets are not modernized. And this transfer of assets is difficult. And the ability for capital to be reused often and frequently from consumers is really limited in this way. When you have global markets, global access to assets, and also ability to then pair that with technologies like AI, it allows the free flow of capital at tremendous amounts of speed, and also the investment strategies to flow as fast as the agents can move money around.
If the regulatory clarity is in place, who's moving first? Banks, asset managers, or payment companies?
We see all of them preparing for that right now. So banks are looking at stable coins, I think, and tokenized deposits as the kind of early instruments, as well as commercial money, by the way, of how crypto rails can bring these assets worldwide and replace existing systems which are slow, legacy, as well as expensive going for the future. From the asset management side, tokenization seems like a very good win. It is a win in terms of the cost of managing assets, right? So right now, there's a significant amount of cost in managing the legacy systems whenever you buy and sell. The maintenance overhead of that is very high. A blockchain takes that cost and then kind of moves it into the infrastructure itself. But being able to track movement of assets, being able to provably show like where profits and losses were made, that can be done completely through the infrastructure that exists, the modernized infrastructure, blockchain. And they see that as a win on the cost side, but also the global access side. On the payment company side, there are some challenges when it comes to blockchains, especially around the privacy, especially compliant privacy aspect of money moving around. But payments is a great area where vendors can get their payment quickly, as opposed to waiting a day for settlement or 2 days for settlement. Also, it provides that kind of cross-border functionality, especially for kind of global payment of goods and services going forward into the future.
So recently, like global companies like Visa or Circle have been investing heavily in stablecoins and blockchain-based payment infrastructure. So what do you think they're seeing that's driving them to move?
I think they see, everyone is seeing in the US that once clarity passes, it is very clear that the future of finance must happen on-chain. It's a more efficient rail. It is globally accessible. It's faster, cheaper, and eventually more safe over time. So as this is happening, we're working with MasterCard, we're working with Circle and USDC to see these assets grow quickly and find adoption.
How much exactly the cost savings or efficiency gains does that actually translate into inside the financial system itself?
Today, if you look at the cost for Aptos, which is among the lowest, if not the lowest cost network when it comes to moving stables, we're talking under 1/100th of a US cent. It is extremely cheap, extremely fast. If we did a transfer right now, it would happen under half a second from wallet to wallet. That is and also with over 99.99% uptime. That's a rail that just can't be beat in existing infrastructure. And so that kind of technology paired with the ability to have global money movement of fiat across the world, I think is a game changer when it comes to products, services for everyone in the world.
So it's safer, faster, and cheaper.
Safer, faster, cheaper, more accessible.
It's perfect in any way?
Yes, but I say the biggest risk here is around the rails themselves. And our industry has been focused a lot on the crypto asset side of people trying to invest into these assets, which has been a challenge, I think, for a long time. But the real focus today should be on not the asset, but the actual technology that crypto brings to the table. And those rails need to be built with safety in mind, because they're going to they secure already billions today. They're securing hundreds of billions of dollars of stablecoins, and they're going to be securing trillions in the future. That kind of responsibility requires a very nuanced, security-focused look. something that we at Aptos have been focused on for a long time, given that we've been building the space since DM back in 2018 until now.
When you talk about security, does that mean hacking or?
It means a lot of things. So security of assets means, as people are thinking about these asset managers, large asset managers are really managing consumer funds, their retirement accounts, the future of people's finance for the next 20, 30 years. It must be on something that is extremely safe and extremely reliable. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of tremendous pressure in existing crypto industry for hacks. With AI now rising, it is much easier to find holes in infrastructure. So we look towards technology like AI to actually help protect us. But also as we new infrastructure, such as our advanced Move trading platform, our additional guarantees that we put into the Move ecosystem around having multiple lines of defense, formal verification as a method of defense, a way to kind of check at runtime whether assets should be transferred or not, as well as the static checks that exist today. These kind of defenses are paramount to making sure that on-chain assets move safely and securely.
So do you see tokenization as still being an experimental stage, or has the shift into the real financial infrastructure has already begun?
I think that today it's very much in an experimental phase. I think Clarity is going to unlock that to multiple orders of magnitude on top of that. But the biggest thing that asset managers will look at going forward is, as I take those assets and move them onto these new rails, how safe are these rails that manage my customer deposits? Because one mistake could be a catastrophic event for both the asset issuer as well as the consumer.
So for ordinary people, just like who doesn't know about this technology, like I'm curious about the concrete examples, like what real practical changes will this bring to how everyday investors use financial services?
Our view has been that the ability for people to exchange assets globally will grow rapidly. We have seen asset exchange on Aptos growing very rapidly when it comes to stablecoin movement. There are over $2 billion of stablecoins secure on Aptos today, doing billions of dollars of transaction volume a month. We also see asset exchange in terms of kind of trading activity happening on-chain, which is very exciting as well. And this will become a growing field. We also have announced partnerships with entities in the UAE who are going to bring carbon credits on-chain at a massive scale, bring data centers on-chain at a massive scale. And so being able to give people access to these assets to trade and to hold and to buy and sell as well will be a new kind of opportunity for them to invest into different things.
So before we talk about Aptos, let's talk about Libra project. So what was Libra's biggest contribution, and just personally curious what you learned from that path?
I think Libra's biggest contribution was to put a lot of eyeballs and focus onto blockchain as a technology, enabling transactions for billions of people around the world. Before then, I think you had definitely Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many other networks kind of starting to form and generating use cases. But the focus of Libra to get kind of the government and regulatory authorities looking at this technology very seriously was probably a big contribution to where we are today. That being said, of course, Libra faced challenges in that space, and ultimately the best path for Libra was to spin out, right, and become Aptos over time. That being said, we learned a lot. We learned a lot of what regulatory agencies were looking for, how to even form a lot of thoughts on compliance and what it means for consumer safety. Those kind of lessons, I think, we've really taken forward to Aptos and tried to build the best technology possible in order to support safe asset movement for everyday people.
In overall, do you think Libra was simply too far ahead of the time, or was it just more the market wasn't ready yet?
I think it was ahead of its time. And I think that the regulatory agencies, the government, wasn't ready for this discussion. I think today it's very different. I think our government and our administration, it was well aware that finance and AI are the two most important things in the world right now to be focused on. And for finance, blockchain technology is clearly the revolution that is going to change the landscape for everything. And for AI, of course, that's an investment area that it continues to be the top of focus for, of course, not just the US, but here in Korea as well.
So back in the Libra days, there were many challenges due to the regulation and market conditions. So what do you think has changed since then?
The biggest change is the administration. Given, I think, honestly, if Libra were to be launched again today, it would have succeeded. That is a big difference because now the administration is very supportive of everything it was trying to do. Libra's idea was to produce a stablecoin that would support global payments around the world 24/7 with billions of people. That's a mission that is well accepted by regulators and by the U.S. as an important mission. And we can see that the U.S. dollar is the dominant stablecoin today, which is growing very, very rapidly, and will grow in not use cases only for kind of exchanges, but also for payments, for buying and selling assets of RWAs, and kind of more functionality in the future as well.
So when you say administration, that specifically means Trump administration?
Yeah, the current administration in power has been very, very forward-thinking and also pushing forward the agenda when it comes to getting stable Genius passed as well as now Clarity.
So does that include the Republican Party as well?
I would say it's both parties, to be honest. We've seen support in both the Democrats and the Republicans for both Clarity and Stable. And that is an unusual situation, I think, for a lot of Congress. But it's something that no one disagrees with. We have, America has to be one of the leaders in these technologies. And so with that in mind, it's very important for regulation to support it.
So are there any things that it was impossible back then, but now it's possible?
A lot of things are different now.
Oh, really?
I think especially Clarity is going to define the way tokens are classified, mature networks, immature networks, what it means to be a decentralized project. We've already seen guidance from the SEC and CFTC around DeFi going forward, and what it means to have no centralized components as an important constraint, having no biases towards specific recommendations on investment, and having that be the kind of the centerpiece of how DeFi legislation should evolve into the future. And that's something that we've been very focused on from when we think about the blockchain perspective. Decentralization is important. Having no centralized actors to kind of take advantage of the system, even that's done in compliance systems today, is very important. And that can be a really important way for the world to democratize access to finance in a way that's fair for everyone. Just
for better understanding, can you advise CFTC? So can you explain to our viewers what CFTC actually is and what they do?
Sure. The CFTC is kind of responsible for derivatives markets in the U.S. They are kind of formed from the agricultural side, whereas the SEC is more for securities. And the CFTC has taken a pretty clear role in terms of defining how those markets work in the crypto side. They formed a number of committees. They've been very forward-thinking in terms of, how do we provide rules and regulations for supporting these markets in the U.S. and how do we innovate in that space. And the GMAC and Digital Asset Subcommittee has been particularly focused on the taxonomy piece, defining how different assets are classified. For example, APT is classified as a digital asset, not a security. Same for Bitcoin, same for Ethereum, and many others as well. Those are kind of some important roles that the CFTC has taken on, but also the SEC has been working very closely with them to help define the landscape alongside the White House committee.
Okay, so let's talk in details about Aptos.
Aptos Labs was established and is headquartered in the U.S. We're proud to contribute to American innovation and job creation. Aptos is a high-performance, permissionless, proof-of-stake, Layer 1 blockchain designed to support internet-scale applications and their billions of users. Like the internet, it's open infrastructure that enables anyone to build applications on top of it. Unlike centralized systems, Aptos is maintained by a distributed network of participants, validators, developers, and users. Digital assets, or tokens, are essential for these decentralized systems to function. They provide the incentive, security, and governance mechanisms that keep the network running. For example, APT is the native token of Aptos and is essential to the network's operation and to access the network. It plays 3 key roles. First, the token is used to secure the network. In order to record transactions on the blockchain, validators are selected based on the amount of APT tokens they stake or lock up as collateral. This mechanism uses APT to secure the network by preventing attacks from malicious actors. The token is also used to programmatically reward validators for truthfully recording transactions, commonly known as staking. Second, APT holders can propose and vote on protocol upgrades, ensuring decentralized decision-making. Third, APT is used to pay transaction fees. These fees, averaging fractions of a cent, are required for submitting activities to the blockchain. Even though they are small, these fees serve as a protective measure against spam and denial of service attacks, ensuring the network remains secure and efficient. Security, decentralization, and utility are what make blockchains like Aptos capable of supporting real-world applications at scale. Today, these applications are no longer theoretical. More than 1,000 developers are building on Aptos, and hundreds of live projects are delivering value across industries like finance, commerce, entertainment, and infrastructure. Some of the world's largest financial institutions, including BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, and Apollo, have launched regulated tokenized money markets and other funds on Aptos. Doing so increases transparency, enables real-time peer-to-peer transfers, and boosts operational efficiency. The PACT protocol is a blockchain-based platform for licensed lenders in emerging markets. The platform allows these lenders to originate and service loans on the blockchain, offering transparency and efficiency to lenders and borrowers alike. Over $1 billion in loans have been issued through PACT, helping small businesses access faster capital, enabling them to buy equipment, open shops, or invest in clean energy. Aptos also powers new forms of engagement in entertainment and commerce. Projects use Aptos to issue tokenized tickets, cutting out intermediaries, reducing costs, and offering collectible digital ticket stubs that drive loyalty and fan engagement. Aptos has a multi-year collaboration with NBC Universal to reimagine the fan experience through blockchain-enabled real-world experiences, loyalty programs, and interactive games. Brands like Jelly Bean use Aptos to link physical products with blockchain-verified records, enabling immersive customer experiences and greater consumer trust through traceable, authenticated products and supply chain data. The use cases we see on Aptos today are only the first step of a sweeping transformation, just as the internet rewired everyday life.
So what is Aptos' role in the future of finance?
Aptos has always believed that the exchange of assets is the most valuable use case for blockchains in the next 5 years. And so that includes how do we move stablecoins around very effectively and efficiently? How do we support asset exchange very effectively and efficiently? How do we support tokenization very effectively and efficiently? All these things are kind of the key focuses. And we made tremendous amounts of strides from not just a technology perspective, but also a product perspective. We've seen these large tokenized funds like BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Apollo, and others, even private credit, growing very rapidly on top of Aptos. We're in large discussions with many asset issuers, both in the US as well as abroad, and even in Korea, about how to tokenize assets responsibly, safely, securely, and also support the privacy needs of consumers that's not available necessarily on blockchains today. When it comes to the stablecoin movement, it is very much an effective vehicle for value transfer. However, one of the biggest challenges is how do we support compliant privacy? Today, we don't, if you go to, buy a great meal at a Korean restaurant, we don't need to tell the world about it. If I, get some great sunglasses from my favorite brand, Gentle Monsters, I don't want to necessarily have everyone know how much I paid for the sunglasses. That kind of ability to keep those transactions private, but also compliant, so the government can look into them, so regulators can look into them as needed to make sure the AML is complied with, is also a very important piece. And so we've been building out the technology to support stablecoins that would have the compliant privacy that is necessary for widespread adoption of these technologies.
So how is Aptos differentiate from other blockchain companies or similar companies?
I think our differentiation is really because we focus on the institutional grade adoption of blockchain technology. And that has resulted in us taking a very different look at the product. We have a different smart contracts platform, which is the Aptos Move platform. We have a different blockchain infrastructure, which is a different consensus protocol, different execution engine. And also we have technologies like Keyless, which allow you to log into your account, make things simpler for users without having to remember a seed phrase, for example, which is very challenging for the everyday user. This supports recovery and things like that. So the goal has always been, how do we support the mass adoption of blockchain technology from people that aren't going to be familiar and experts in this space, but can use it the same way that you use existing rails, right? You log into a brokerage today, or if you log into an exchange, those kind of services can be done actually on chain with the technology that we've built.
So can you give some examples of how institutions engage with you and Aptos?
Today, there are many ways. The first I would like to call out is the tokenization of assets and having those funds on chain. This allows consumers to buy and sell and trade tokenized money market funds, other funds like that. The other way that we engage with institutions is actually on the use cases themselves. We've been working with partners like NBC Universal on products on how to grow adoption for their theme parks and how to even work in the space of generative AI with their existing IP. One of the challenges that a lot of IP content holders and owners is facing today is how do I kind of monetize the IP in a way that exists outside of the existing channels. And this is where crypto technology, AI, and the work we've done with things like Shelby to build a new infrastructure of decentralized storage, really real-time hot storage, can support the additional monetization of these vehicles going forward into the future. But that's just one example.
Okay. So many investors still think the hacking or security, as you mentioned, first when digital assets come to the place. But in reality, what criteria do institutional investors weigh most heavily when evaluating blockchain infrastructure?
I think many of them are excited about the technology and they understand that in a post-clarity world, they will have to move their assets on chain. That being said, there's a lot of education that we need to help the industry with in terms of what are the characteristics they need to look for. It is a multi-layer cake. It is, if you compare it to AI to some degree, you have this infrastructure piece, you have models, you have model token factories, you have applications on top of that. And blockchain is quite similar in that aspect. You have the blockchain L1 infrastructure, you have the wallet infrastructure, you have then the centralized kind of exchange infrastructure, and then you have application infrastructure as well. And so understanding this space is something that we work with many different parties on, all those parties you mentioned before, banks, asset managers, payment companies, on how to kind of build that full stack and then support kind of those consumer use cases without having to expose consumers to the underlying kind of details of crypto, which are very complicated and challenging.
Okay. So you mentioned AI a few times. And how is AI technology adapting the tokenization and the concept you explained?
AI is changing our lives in every different way, for sure. And this is not just about blockchain, right? This is about the way we think, the way we manage our finances, the way that we plan our days and plan our trips even and our vacations. But AI in the blockchain space is changing it in a way that is going to kind of reveal, unfortunately, the blockchains that aren't as secure, the blockchains that focus more on narrative instead of actual kind of building good quality technology, unfortunately are seeing hacks left and right, and we'll kind of continue to see that in the future. But AI is also going to be supporting agents in a big way going forward. And a lot of our work will be kind of delegated to agents, whether it's any of the things that we do in our daily lives, as well as from managing our money to managing our time, to managing kind of even like our priorities and our focus in lives. But that kind of management also requires the ability to pay for services and goods, the ability to also kind of negotiate with other agents around other services that might be provided. And blockchain is a very natural rail for that to happen. It is very easy to onboard. It is very easy to transact. It doesn't have boundaries when it comes to companies or countries. It can interact with anyone in the world, any global services. And so that kind of interaction for agents is, I think, a tremendous adoption point and opportunity for blockchain-based technology to enable kind of global commerce, global finance, and also agents to have much more power to transact in our lives.
So when Aptos is developing like advanced, more new technology, like do you adapt AI to for efficiency work?
We do. So internally within the company, we are very much an AI-focused company, and we use AI technology very heavily within the company itself. But externally, we support MCP servers for access to our products. We allow agents to integrate with Aptos seamlessly. And if you want to integrate with Aptos today, you can spin up an agent and build an integration in half an hour or an hour. It's an amazing technology, and that's been a challenge for blockchain in the past, where I need to have an Aptos Move developer. That's challenging to hire someone like that, or I need to find an EVM developer. That's also challenging, right? Now that's not necessary. A great developer that has access to AI tools can integrate the Aptos blockchain and get all the benefits of its security properties from just an hour of kind of prompting.
Okay. So what is Aptos focused the most on today?
Today, Aptos is mostly focused on two things. We call it markets and machines. On the market side, we believe asset exchange is one of the most prominent use cases of blockchain. And because of that, we've built out technology stack to support the Aptos exchange of assets called Decibel. That's been growing very, very rapidly and supports assets from crypto to equities to ETFs as well as commodities. So people can exchange those assets on chain, which is very efficient and effective. It is also the closest to the guidance of the CFTC and SEC when it comes to decentralized finance that we've seen so far in the market. On the machine side, we've been building something called Shelby in collaboration with Jump Trading. And Shelby is an enterprise-grade product that supports AI storage, but also compute in the future, as well as token factories beyond that. We believe that decentralization is a very important piece of AI. In particular, we've seen today models like Claude have been kind of banned from the latest version of being accessible to many different parties. And unfortunately, that is kind of the step that we expect to see going forward to the future. Many models will have restrictions on export restrictions as well. And so it's important for decentralized technology to kind of fill that gap that exists.
Some people might think that we have, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum already in our wallet. So what problem did Aptos emerge to solve?
So Bitcoin and Ethereum are a bit different technologies. Bitcoin kind of evolved to be this future of money, right? And then Ethereum has been kind of both the future of money, but also a smart contracts platform. And they're different. So we also like to call this kind of crypto assets versus crypto technology.
Oh.
Aptos evolved to really support crypto technology. We want to see technology mass available at scale, secure rails for financial infrastructure. And that is something that very few are focused on, but we think is a very important problem to solve, especially in a world where post-clarity, hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions will be moved on-chain at some point.
Okay, so let's talk about Korea and the future. So I want to bring this to home for our viewers because Aptos has been quite vocal about Korea's importance. So what stands out about Korea? Like, why is Korea so important?
Korea has grown to become a top 10 economy in the last 30 years at a very rapid pace. And its financial infrastructure in many ways is super modernized. That being said, we've also seen Korea be a huge market for crypto, the asset. A lot of interest in trading those assets, but also the technology piece. Korea is one of the largest countries in the world when it comes to AI exports. The memory chip industry, the semiconductor industry has been very huge here, and we have some of the largest trillion-dollar companies in this market and growing rapidly. The Kospi is at all-time highs and growing very rapidly. So from a market perspective, I think Korea is very similar to America in the sense it's trying to adopt blockchain as well as AI as first-class kind of nation priorities. For that, we want to be here and we want to support these markets and support the growth of the industry. We've worked with many different players, from our investors to large partners like Lotte, on different kinds of efforts around crypto, and we think that this industry is just ripe for adoption here in this country.
So you mentioned that Trump administration. So, like, in your opinion, that Korean government is pushing forward about this stablecoin and digital assets at the same, like, similar pace to Trump administration?
I think it's moving quickly. It's hard to measure like the pace of Korea directly to the U.S., but I think that they work in tandem, right? So, as we've seen the advance of the Stable Act as well as the Genius Act and also the Clarity Act in the U.S., we've seen the interest in other countries like Korea pick up very, very rapidly. And we know many of the different large industry players here are interested in seeing the traction of and leadership of on-chain tokenization be a big deal here.
So can you mention any Korean like specific companies that Aptos is working with, or
probably not this time, but we were definitely looking to work closely with many of the large industry partners when it comes to their tokenization efforts as well as stablecoin efforts.
Like in some specific industry?
I think the the biggest use case probably for stable coins in Korea to start off with will be the exchange, right? So today they're kind of exchanged against USDT pairs and USD pairs in general. That would be a very good use case for Korea in the future for Korean won on chain. We also are seeing that but cross-border payments for B2B transactions, it would be very large for stablecoins. Again, going back to AI, the semiconductor industry is a huge one with payments processed in the billions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's a great opportunity for Korean stablecoins to transact value across different countries, and even of course the Korean culture, K-pop, and other cultural aspects, I think, are a great opportunity to take advantage of Korean stablecoins being used to transact value across the world.
Okay, so what do you think will Korean finance look like in 5 years?
I think it'll actually be very similar to the US. It'll advance very quickly. A lot of payments will start to move on-chain without users being aware of it. I understand prepaid kind of cards are a big thing here in Korea. That might be one of the first things to be tokenized and to be using for Korean stablecoins.
Right.
We definitely expect that the exchanges here in Korea, which are very large and very prominent in the crypto industry, will adopt those Korean stablecoins as a big use case. And ultimately, I think the AI industry will drive the adoption of Korean stablecoins forward to the future as well. Our contacts with existing tokenization partners also show they're quite aggressive here. And many of them are looking at companies in the US like Robinhood and others as very inspirational, or even wanting to take the lead from companies like them as well. That'll be an area, I think, of growth and opportunity here in the country.
Okay. So one last question before you go. Is there any message you'd like to leave with our Korean viewers, and especially sam프로TV viewers?
Personally, I love Korea. My wife is Korean, and my kids love to come out here and enjoy the culture. And also, they've been learning Korean at home and get a chance to practice in the nation. So that's also great for me. And it's also a special place for us. We had our first hackathon here. Our first kind of big summit was here in Korea, and it's a place that we've really enjoyed working with both the large industry as well as the consumers and developers out in the region. So we look forward to coming here very frequently and hopefully seeing and helping the regulatory efforts in stablecoins, tokenized assets, and beyond.
And coming to sam프로TV next?
And absolutely coming here again. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your insight and your time being with us today. And to our viewers, thank you for watching.